Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm attending a birthday party in a restaurant, so I thought that I could discuss some things with you while I get ready. And of course, as you read the title, I'm gonna be spilling some tea, so I thought that it would be fitting to have myself a nice hot cup of tea. Let's get started. So I have one of these situations today, so I'm just gonna remove them. And as you can see guys, I already did my eyebrows, and the reason being I cannot do my eyebrows on camera. I have to be that close to the mirror to do them, and even today they don't even look like siblings, they look like cousins, so I tried my best. And I also already did my skincare. Wait a second, there's been a cop car besides my house for like the longest time, so I'm just being a nosy neighbor. I was just wondering who's getting arrested tonight. So as you can see from the title, we're gonna talk about the highly talked about book Haunting Adeline. Also gonna mention Haunting Adeline because that's actually the book that really traumatized me. So if you guys don't know, Haunting Adeline is a book that was written by H.D. Carton, and it's actually a duet, and it's called, I believe, the Cat and Mouse Duet. So there's two books, there's Haunting Adeline and then Haunting Adeline. The first one was really trending at some point. I feel like the topic that it addressed, it being a stalker romance, really got people going. It reminded me a little bit of the trend of the 50 Shades of Grey books. I feel like because it got people so curious to know why everybody was in an uproar about it, I feel like it got traction that way and it got a lot of buzz, and I feel like that's how a lot of people got to the book. At least I did. I've seen some of my favorite YouTubers mentioning it, and even some of them that usually read dark romance were saying that Haunting Adeline is a little bit hard to read and there's a lot of triggers. And by the way, I should have started by this. Trigger warning, in this video I'm gonna be talking about assaults, and I hope you guys understand that I don't mean regular assault. But yeah, that book, you should check the trigger warnings before you get into it because it's not for the faint of heart. So yeah, let me start blending. So the book is about Addie, and she's a successful writer. Her grandma passed away and left her house. She has a lot of fond memories about the house, even though she described the house as being creepy, and even her mom is telling her like, why would you want to go live in this old house filled with like memories, ghosts and whatnot. Her mom doesn't understand why she would want to leave the city and go live in such a dark and creepy place, but she does. She want to connect with her grandma. Throughout the book you're gonna see that her relationship with her mom is really strained, so I feel like she always felt closer to her grandparents, if that makes sense. So it's a way for her to reconnect with them and go live in their house and respect their legacy. So yeah, she moves into the house, and I think she also doesn't mind being lonely. They mention in the book one of her friends called Daya, but it's not like she's the kind of girl that has many friends around her, so I think she doesn't really mind being like secluded. She decided to move into the house and make it her home, so she started renovating it and removing all the junk left behind by her grandparents, because obviously they died. I think her grandmother died a year ago, and so there's a lot of objects and stuff left behind to go through, and for her to really make it her permanent and forever home. So she quickly realizes that she has a stalker. So that's why also I was apprehensive to get into the book, because I don't know, I wasn't all that enthusiastic to get into a stalker romance. Wait, let me move this. Especially in this setting. I'm not saying that stalker romance is better in other settings, but I hate when people ruin your house for you, because we've been robbed actually 3 times. So I know the feeling of your intimacy being violated and you not feeling comfortable at home. So the fact that he was stalking her at her own house that she was trying to make a home out of, I don't know, that's the one point that ticked me off a little bit. You're getting old when it's Friday night and you're drinking a chamomile tea before going out, and you're not pre-gaming with like vodka or something. But yeah, I wasn't really comfortable, with the whole idea of stalker. So yeah, she quickly realizes that she has a stalker, and her friend Daya that I mentioned before, she's actually working kind of like a hacker for this organization that is, haunting like pedophile and sex traffickers mostly, and criminals, let's say. So her friend is trying to help her, you know, uncover who is this stalker, what does he want from her. And because he's getting bolder, he always leaves out a rose for her and some kind of threat. He makes it clear from the beginning that he doesn't want to see her with another man. And when she tries to defy him a little bit, he quickly, show her why she shouldn't have done that and why it's dangerous not only for her but also for the other person. She invites a guy over, and there's this place called the Solar, I believe, in her house where it's like all glass, and she brings the guy there and they have some fun. So yeah, he touches her and she receives a text, because also I forgot to mention, the stalker keeps texting her and calling her my little mouse. He's showing her that he can not only access her home but also her phone and anything that he wants. So he puts his threat into execution, and that guy, I forgot his name, but he's part of a crime family in Seattle. So he quickly goes missing. So in a sense, not only is he showing territorial behavior, but he's putting her in danger, because the family of the guy is obviously asking and around and wondering why the last time the guy was seen was with her and then he disappeared out of the blue. So yeah, the stalker is really a little bit unhinged, let's say. And we quickly get the identity of the stalker, and he is part of the organization that Zaya works for and that hunts pedophile for a living. So he's like a vigilante kind of. He's really against sex trafficking of all sorts, but most specifically pedophile ring and abusing kids. His nickname is Z in the hacker world, so criminals all over the country knows about him and know his mission and what he's capable of. And the first time we hear about him, he's like rescuing some girls from warehouse, I think, where they were getting abused. And the girls are so desensitized to violence that they don't even react to him barging in and, basically killing everybody that is inside. I think he kept like one alive to interrogate him, because he's targeting smaller organizations so that he can get to a bigger one called the Society. And basically he's explaining during his POV, because the book is dual POV, by the way, so his POV and her POV. He's explaining during his POV that the society, somebody in the society leaked a video of a human sacrifice of a kid, and a second video popped up, and they managed to track the location to Seattle. So this is the reason he's tracking, because he's tracking pedophile all over the United States, but this is why he's in Seattle, and that's how he's gonna encounter Adeline and fall in love with her. His name is Zaid. So he starts stalking her after spotting her in a book shop doing a book signing, basically an event for her fans. This is the part that got me. It's like instant obsession for him. I don't want to say instant love, because that's not love for me, but it's instant obsession. He wants her, and I'd never understood why he just couldn't just approach her the regular way. But yeah, he starts stalking her, and he makes it a point to let her know that whether she likes it or not, she's gonna be his eventually. So this is how the story starts. She's trying to be brave, and fight back in a sense, because she doesn't just want to be a victim of a stalker and not do anything. And one thing that we learn about her, it's one of the part of the book that made me raise my eyebrows a little bit, because it's a little bit unbelievable if you ask me. Her great-grandmother used to have a stalker herself, like many years ago, and she wrote a journal about it, and she explained falling for the stalker and what brought her to the point of basically being killed. And at this point of the book, we don't really know who killed her and for what motive, and everything points to the stalker, but Adeline isn't really sure about that. So she's still a little bit trying to investigate, also with the help of that. That is such a ride or die. Can we talk about it? Because first of all, she's trying to help you find your stalker. She's trying to help you solve the murder of your great-grandmother. talk about a best friend, right? So yeah, so you can say that Adeline is a little bit lost as an individual because yeah, she lost her grandmother, she's not really close to her mom, and now she discovers that her great grandmother had a stalker like her and died from it. Like, I would be so freaked out. I would have left the house. I would be all the way running to China if I was Adeline. So as I said, the stalking escalates quite a bit until the point of Zayd just plain standing behind, below her window in front of her house, which is so creepy. And Adeline, of course, instead of being, a normal human being and running away, she decided that she's gonna confront him. So one day she opens the door and she screams at him, and I was like, girl, what the hell are you doing? Like, you don't want to leave, you don't care about your life. But yeah, so she starts confronting him because yeah, she doesn't want to be a victim, which I kind of understand. So after that, this is the part that I was afraid to get to. Zayd is trying to exert some kind of foreplay on her, and I don't remember quite what she did to provoke him that day, but he got sick of her provocation, because she kept saying that, she was responding to his text, saying that she was calling the cops on him, which he forbade her to, which, I mean, how bold do you have to be to say to someone that you're stalking that they're forbidden from calling the cops? I mean, like, come on. But I mean, that's kind of badass as well. So once the stalking escalates and they finally meet face to face, there's no other way to say it, but he assaulted her, basically, which is the part of the book that I wasn't really agreeing with. It's not to say that I agree with assault in other story. I don't. I really hate that. But I felt like it was so unnecessary and kind of traumatizing because I'm just gonna say there's gunplay, I think that's how you call it, involved. So the assault is with an object and a weapon. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna leave it to your imagination. But I don't know, reading the scene was a little bit uncomfortable for me. Eventually, it grows bolder and bolder again, and he starts touching her with or without her consent, which you can, I guess, consider it dubcon, non-consensual, but consensual in a way because she wants it. I mean, it's really confusing, but again, please check the trigger warnings for this book. So yeah, so they start this weird relationship, and despite her good sense, she's starting to enjoy his presence. Not just the fact that they're having kind of consensual experiences, kind of not, but overall, when he doesn't contact her, when he doesn't go to see her, she misses him. And she's confused by all of that. She doesn't even admit, I think, to her best friend Daya how she's feeling because she feels ridiculous and she feels like she's getting taken advantage of. But yeah, Zayd is really trying to worm his way into her life. And the funny thing is, he knows his intention. To him, it's not just about stalking her. He plans on being with her. There's no other alternative possible in his mind. So yeah, I don't know. That was just so funny to me, like just the way he was like, okay, we're gonna get together whether you like it or not, and I'm gonna do the most awful things to you. Then she just went along with it. So one of the men that Zayd is chasing, she becomes his interest, and he's one of the bad guys from the society that does all of the blood ritual and blood sacrifices with kids. So that's not a good thing. So Zayd, to protect her, asked her to pretend to be his girlfriend. So there's also a bit of fake dating in this. So they start acting like a couple in front of this man. And Zayd see it also as a good way for him to get into the society. So thanks to Adi basically acting like his girlfriend and piquing the interest of that guy, he gets into parties and events. It allows him to get closer to the bigger fish and to the people controlling the society. I'm just gonna jump forward because I'm explaining a lot of the book and that's not the point of the video. So basically, Zayd, with the help of Adeline, without her really realizing it, gets closer and closer in rank in the society. So basically Zaid managed to get invited to one of the blood rituals, and it goes left because it's a trap, obviously, by the society. He realizes that one of the wife of the man that he killed before, her name I think is Claire, she's not the innocent, helpless, and brutalized woman that he thought she was, but she's actually one of the leader of the society, and she says that she's gonna take revenge on him, and for that she gets Adeline kidnapped. So basically that's the end of Haunting Adeline, and then we jumped into Haunting Adeline. So Adeline gets kidnapped and she's basically handed to sex traffickers. So they quickly explain to her that she's gonna be groomed to become a sex slave, and that Zaid is never gonna find her, and basically that's retaliation for him exposing their company and basically, you know, putting their money at risk because it's a really lucrative line of business, I would say. So Adeline gets kidnapped and she's handed into the care of two siblings, Francesca and Rocco. Francesca is basically like a madam. She grooms girls to be able to perform for clients and to be able to be the perfect sex slave. I don't know how to explain it any better. And she meets a bunch of girls that are also detained at the same place as her. This is downright so dehumanizing. It's really not a part of the book that I enjoyed reading because you could tell her suffering. And she started keeping a journal just as like her grandmother did, because she found one below the floor of her room, and it was from a previous girl being detained there, who talks about an escape plan that Adeline is gonna try to copy. So yeah, so basically she gets into troubles. I think the first day that she's awake and conscious, because she got hurt when she got kidnapped, so she had to be healed before she could basically be traded off to some pervert. Like, I hate even describing that. I don't like the sexual trafficking trope, so that part of the book, and Haunting Adeline in general compared to Haunting Adeline, I really didn't enjoy that aspect. So yeah, she gets quickly, you know, groomed, and one day she decided to speak up for a girl that is getting a mold cut off her face. Basically she gets assaulted, but like the extreme assault, and the thing is, it's all described. Like, you can feel her pain, you can feel what she feels, you can, you know, you live the moment with her. And I had to put the book down, and I wasn't able to sleep after that because that scene was so violent. It's just that whole chunk of the book, and I think it's like a good third of the book, is just pure suffering. It's day after day, and even if they don't describe the scene to you, she describes them in her diary, so you have to relive it with her, and it's just hopelessness that you feel because you feel like there's no solution for her. She's in the middle of nowhere at the end of a big organization like the society. There's no way that Zaid is gonna find her, and you have the dual POV of Zaid trying to find her. They really made it hard for him to get back to her, and he also feels guilty because she got roped into all of this because of him chasing the society. So it's a really not enjoyable part of the book because you're reading her suffering and him suffering too because he cannot do anything for her. Let me jump ahead because I'm gonna have to quickly get ready. So yeah, finally she gets found out by Zaid, and she also escapes. She's really relentless and badass, and that's what I loved about her. I would say the second half of the book, the second part of the book, is her recovering from being assaulted multiple times, from the torture and the trauma she had to endure while she was being trafficked, basically, because at some point they even picked out a client for her and he visited her, so she was assaulted by him, and he's a twisted individual. He did some knife play, I think that's how you call it, so he was cutting her while assaulting her, so she's really broken when Zaid gets her back. And what I hated is that they brushed off her trauma or her experience as a sexual assault victim. It's the fact that Zaid, even though he's being patient with her and he's being understanding, he's being, in his POV, frustrated because he cannot touch her anymore and he cannot get close to her anymore, which is understandable. I mean, she has been living pure hell even though you were living hell too because you were trying to find her. But please understand that after she was assaulted by multiple men, the last thing she want to do is having sexual intercourse with you. And his way of fixing her, his to get her to overcome her knife trauma by teaching her the right way to do knife play, the safe way to enjoy knife play in sexual relationship. I was like, what? I mean, I'm not a prude, trust me. I mean, like any grown adult, I know about sexual relationship and kinks and all of that, and I respect that. But why would a sexual assault victim that was cut up, basically so traumatized by a knife, and you want to teach her how to play with one? I mean, that part was like too much for me. And this is why I made it the title, like, our dark romance too much sometimes, because this one was definitely too much for me. Because some of the scene could have been brushed off. And let me tell you, I've read some books where they mention assault, and I know that it goes on, and I know that it's something that happened in real life, so we shouldn't brush it off and make it like it doesn't never happen. But the way it was like so described and the way it's written, you're feeling like it's nothing, you know, it's not important, and it is. So I don't know, I was really shocked by that book. And like I said, I'm not a prude, I'm not easily shocked, but this one really left me shook to the core. So yeah, basically, like I was saying, sorry, I'm rambling. That's what happens to me when I try to do two things at the same time. So in this second part, she's battling her trauma, trying to overcome it so that she can be intimate with Zayd again, because she's also frustrated by the fact that she cannot let him get close to her. At least I would say that all of what happened to her kind of repaired the relationship with her mom. But then they go on a crusade to take revenge on the society, which I completely understand. But then again, I think if it was me, I wouldn't have done that, because as you can imagine, the society doesn't take it too well, especially not Claire, that they're chasing them. So the society, for example, at one point kidnaps her parents, just to show her like, you should stop messing with us. Even though you got out of it, it doesn't mean that you can keep playing with us. While I wait for my setting spray to dry, let me explain basically what I didn't like about this duet, because I enjoyed it enough to finish it. I didn't DNF the book, but I felt like they really glossed over the whole sexual assault kind of aspect of the book, in the sense that Zayd is trying to help her recover in Haunting Adeline after she got kidnapped and after she got traumatized, but he doesn't even realize that he was her first trauma. He was her first assault. What he did to her in Haunting Adeline, to me, was assault. Okay, they developed a relationship, but it was clearly against her will, and he did everything to go against her wishes. And some people were saying, oh, but yeah, he's violent with her, but at least he's saving kids. He has a soft spot for sex trafficking, and he's trying to save women and kids around the nation. Like, good for him, but that doesn't excuse the fact that he's basically chasing abusers for a living, and he's an abuser himself. He's Addie's first abuser, and she didn't deal with that. The way their relationship was built was not on solid basis for me, because it started with an assault and she became codependent to him. Even when she was captive, she kept thinking about being rescued by him. She kept like praying for him to come rescue her, even before she prayed for her parents or Daya or anybody else to find her. So he really made it a point to become essential in her life, and I think that's kind of like a toxic relationship. So that book, yeah, it was really definitely not only dark but toxic romance, which, I mean, I don't mind them. I read them in other books, but in these settings, I don't know, I felt uncomfortable. And why in the title I said I felt haunted is because that book stayed with me. Like, at the moment I'm talking to you, I've read that like 2 weeks ago, and it stayed with me. At this point, I'm reading Elsie Silver, the Chestnut Spring series, because I wanted something lighthearted. I read Haunting Adeline and Haunting Adeline in the span of a week, which is unusual for me. I read pretty fast usually, but because it gave me insomnia, I wasn't able to really process the book. And I feel like to this day, I have some residue of that. I sometimes think about it because the scenes, like I said, were so violent and vivid, I feel like they live rent-free in my head, if that makes sense. They could have done a better character development for Zaid, because even at the end of the book, even with everything he did for her out of love, I still despise him because of what he did to her in the first book. Now, to me, being a vigilante doesn't excuse you being an abuser. But then again, I also want to give a shout out to H.G. Carlton, because she took a book that is awful to read, like really, and really triggering, and she still made it kind of readable in a sense. I don't want to say enjoyable, because I'm not sure I enjoyed Haunting Adeline. Haunting Adeline was alright. It was a nice dark romance, I would say. Sometimes a little bit too much for me, but still alright. I would still give it like a 4-star or something. But Haunting Adeline, to me, it would have to be a 3 stars, because some scenes were so unnecessary. And for her to suffer that much, to go through all that and get to the part of the revenge, and then Zaid want to strike a deal with Claire. I'm still pissed about it, by the way, if you can't tell. So yeah, no, I feel like it was not satisfactory enough at the end. I wanted to see Claire go through the worst suffering, which is, you know, that's what this book does to you. It's gonna get the worst out of you, because you wouldn't want anybody to suffer, but I truly wanted Claire to suffer in the worst way possible. So yeah, I don't know. I think I understand the hype of the book, but it's still something that I think it's not for me in general. Like, I can handle dark romance, but that was, I mean, just unnecessary for me. Hey guys, I'm back. I went ahead and applied my lashes and my lipstick off camera, because I wouldn't have been able to do that on camera, and I'm running a little bit late. So yeah, let me wrap this video up. So basically, yeah, from the title you could guess what I wanted to speak about, and why I ask if dark romances are going too much is because I feel like sometimes they are. I'm not speaking for Haunting or Haunting Adeline, or even for H.G. Carlton in general, but I feel like there's this kind of trauma porn going around in the book community, and anything that is great for shock value is just sometimes put in the book just for the sake of it, without no background. I'm not saying that the scenes in this book were not necessary for the plot or to understand what she was going through, but I feel like they could have been eluded enough for us to be shaken up, but not so much that we couldn't even, you know, enjoy the book thoroughly, because I kept reading Haunting Adeline with this in the back of my head. This is the only thing I could think about, the assault scene. So I think like it ruined the book for me. We really took a big step in the elevation of violence between the two books. So really went from dark romance, which was already twisted enough. Let me get it straight. The first book was already twisted enough, but I think like it was the good balance, the good medium. And I feel like we crossed a line in Haunting Adeline that is difficult for me to go back from. So I'm still gonna try to read her other work, and I really want to get to Does It Hurt, because I heard it's a really, really good book. But yeah, I feel like the escalation of violence, and especially the first third of the book of Haunting Adeline, was not necessary, and I could have went by my life without reading most of it. So yeah, sorry, I'm smiling and laughing, and it's not because it's funny or because I think it's a light topic, but you're gonna learn that for me, when I'm uncomfortable I laugh, so please don't take it the wrong way. The writing was really good, and you can tell that H.G. Carlton is a really good writer, and you know, she really got the story down well, the plot was developed well, I think the pacing was good as well. But it's just those kind of unbelievable scene in the first book, first of all, because as much as Zaid is good, some of the things he did were, you know, too much, unless he's like some kind of CIA agent, which is not. Some of the things he was doing were a little bit too much for me, and I talked about it in my first video. I said to you guys how when a book becomes unbelievable, I kind of disconnect from it. I didn't in that one though. It's nice that the relationship ended well between them, and Adeline ended up, you know, healing eventually. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling. I feel like I talked enough, and I'm getting late. So let me go. Give me your thoughts about this book. I intended to talk about it in a video that would talk about trending books in BookTube, BookTok, and all of the platforms. But I felt like it was such a big phenomenon and such a trauma for me that I wanted to do just a dedicated video on it. So let me hear your thoughts about it. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you like the whole duet? Did you just like one of the two books? Did you like further work from H.D. Carlton? Do you have any good recommendation for me? And I'm still gonna keep reading dark romance. I'm still enjoying them as long as they're not too dark. But yeah, this one was a line for me that I didn't want to cross. So if you guys have lighter dark romance to recommend for me, just go ahead. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video, and I hope you guys will have a wonderful day, weekend, week, or whenever you guys are watching. Bye.